Hey, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. This, of course, is Black Friday. It's the day after Thanksgiving. What were you thankful for? Let me tell you a little something here. This last week, my son and his wife brought me something really, really cool. Well, I guess they brought something into the world. They made me a grandfather. I have a grandson now. Hooray, right? I am now officially a grandpa. Of course, this is the Black Friday edition, actually, and I did a lot of shopping, got a huge box. Let me show you what we have right here. And here we go, and all this greatness. All my parts finally showed up here for the Mockingbird project, minus the thing that goes right there. Driver's side rocker panel and driver's side toe board are missing, but I wasn't sure they will be here this week. But nonetheless, we have everything else here. What a great day to start playing some cars. But you can see quarter panel fender well, frame rail, trunk pan, tail panel inner, and trunk drop-offs, and the same thing on that side, main floor pan. And up here in the very front, you will see the left side cowl, door jamb section, torque box, and this is the passenger side toe board. Still need the driver's side. So that all goes inside Project Mockingbird. Yes, it looks like a mess, but we're having a whole lot of fun. Do a little bit of work here behind the scenes. Got the seat bases all ripped out, both the left and the right side. I'm going to recycle those. They're actually in really nice shape. Very minimal, or there's a little bit of surface rust on those. So I'm going to reuse them, save a few bucks. And what you see there, that's what we're going to get into here just a little bit. I'm going to tie a brace from this part of the door jamb to that part of the door jamb. And then I'm just going to take a sawzall and cut that rocker panel and prove that this doesn't move a whole lot, or it was epic fail. I'm not a big fan of extreme amount of bracing because, well, you can see the amount of rust in this car. Epic rusting, falling apart. It's just, I can't guarantee it's true, but I can tell you right now, I can go show you the driver's side. That door gap is great. Door shuts effortlessly. So my door opening, I'm happy with. So I want to tie that door opening because that is good. And that's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to worry about side to side. I'm not going to worry about the back of the car falling off. But this might be a mistake, but we're about to find out. I'll take some measurements from here down to my brace, record them. So if something does shift, I know how to get it back into place. But for the most part, very confident that's all that I'm going to need. Here's what I'm talking about. Driver's side door gap. It's actually nice, even, and relatively all there. It looks decent. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. It's going to be good enough for purposes of if I cut this thing apart, if I get a 3/4 inch gap, we have an issue. So that's going to give me a nice point of reference. And what I'll probably do also, I use my marker here. Just make a mark so it's consistent. So I know exactly maybe right this corner here, I'll measure from there to, let's say, the tape measure to the exact same point so I don't forget. So I'll go between that opening and here and record the number. I'll write it right here on the side of the car. That way if something does change dimensionally, if my gap does open up here in the front, I know my windshield is tilted forward or backwards. So again, I don't like tying a bunch of bracing because I got to climb in and out of here and I got to move around. So this is going to be a bit of an experiment. I'm going to weld that thing in place. Our little brace there. Here's our door. See, it opens and shuts decent. But I've got the paint cleaned off, but what we're going to do, we're going to weld that thing in to here, and on the door jamb here, and then up here. So I got 3 points, 1, 2, and then 3. And that should give us pretty good stability. And I feel the same thing back here. We're going to weld it here on the door jamb, and then up through here, and then I'll tie it back to here. So we'll have a couple welds here and there. And then what I'm going to do is just take a sawzall, and then I'm going to take that guy right there, that big old blade. I'm going to cut the rocker panel right here, and then here, so I can eliminate this cross brace of holding anything together and see if this car pops apart. You guys don't want to miss that, so let's see how this goes. So I'm going to get that welded in place, then we'll cut. All right, got it all welded into place. Did a couple little spots here in the door jamb. Don't get carried away because we got to cut this bad boy back out. Got a couple spots here on top. I got one on the bottom. Did the same thing, door jamb, top, bottom. The little spot there, and then up there was a little bit of a trick, but I was able to get it welded in place. So this is solid, and this is a pretty stout chunk of steel. It's a little thicker than an 1/8 inch, so it's pretty heavy, and it's completely boxed. That's probably heavier than most car frames. And the door still actually shuts. I made sure it cleared the window crank, and I had to take the door handle off the inside to get everything to clear in the armrest. But I'm leaving the door on because I'm going to use the door for an alignment machine here. Now I've made little lines here on the door. I took a measurement from the point here to up here on the window channel, so 32.5. Then I measured the inside of the door jamb opening, so I got a mark here, tape measure there, to that arrow up there in the front of that door jamb, come straight back. I should be 43.25. So this gap or changes, I can measure, find out what happens. So what I want to do next, though, I want to just lob this rocker panel, take the sawzall, cut it right through, all the way through the whole thing, back here in the back. And since I still have some of the bracing on the floor, it's still actually attached, I want to make sure I'm not using that to hold the car together. So I'm going to cut it here and cut it here. And as the rocker panel still stays straight, I think we did okay. Now's your time to place your bets. What's going to happen when I cut this? Because I'm not 100% entirely sure I don't like using a whole lot of bracing, but I'm pretty confident that's going to be enough, but we're about to find out, and we're going to prove it. So I'm taking bets now. Is this thing going to pop apart and go crazy, or is it going to stay nice and straight? Let's find out. And we're through. Now it's shifted, maybe a 64th of an inch. You can see a little bit of a step here, but not bad. Not too much at all. Got the Sawzall blade through it. That was a little more cumbersome than I thought it was going to be. So that means there's probably still a lot of good metal. There's 4 layers to this rocker panel, so the inside pieces may still have some life left in them, but the ends are bad. The inside here is outside is bad, so I opted to replace this rocker panel. It's kind of marginal if I did an outer skin or an inner, but I still think replacing the whole thing was the way to go, but didn't move. So I'm going to do the same thing here to the front and verify we're all good. Well, now this just got interesting. I started sawing there on the front of the rocker panel down there. As you can see right there's my saw mark. It was vibrating so much that the braces are just kind of falling off. There's so much rust in here. So I went ahead and just popped it loose the rest of the way. And then the only thing I had to cut was this floor brace right here, and she popped right apart. Now the interesting thing is that it didn't really shift a whole lot. Now there is a little bit of misalignment. Look at that there. You see a little bit of a step, a little bit of a, it's shifted some, but you can also think this thing's completely rusted out 100%. But the most important thing is my door jamb opening here. My lines are right on. My gap has stayed the same. So we didn't shift this way. That rocker moved a little bit, but you also got to remember where it's mounted out here in the front of the car. Well, there's nothing left. Just complete nothing but rust. So I'm not really worried about that. So I think this here single brace is going to do the job that I need, because I can actually grab this rocker panel. You see how wiggly it is? It's just no structure left, I think. That's why we're replacing it. But this is going to do its job. Because here's what I can do now. I can open and shut the door just fine. So now that I know my door jamb opening is not messed up, I can actually remove the door off the car to continue installing that rocker panel. Now what I've also done here, you look here carefully, I drilled a little 1/8 inch pilot hole through the hinge and the door opening. So I put the door back on, I can put it in the exact same spot to do my test fitting here. I did the upper hinge and the lower hinge both. So 1/8 inch drill bit, punch all the way through all that. So I think the next thing we're going to do is, I guess, pull the door off and continue to remove the rest of that rocker panel. But that's got to be a video for a different day, because that's all the time I have for today, because it is not only Firebird Friday, but also Black Friday. I have some friends, family coming over here in a bit. Had a few minutes to share my thoughts here on, will this one little piece of bracing work? And actually, I kind of wanted to know. I did a few convertibles in the past, put a lot of bracing on it. Then unfortunately, coming to find out, when I went to put the floor pan in, I had like an inch gap on each side, because the car had rusted, settled, and fell apart. And then, of course, the specification for rocker width, there's a lot of variations of opinion on that. So what, to me, matters the most is, what's this thing look like when it's done? Look at my door jam gap. It's exactly the same as it was before. And I've completely cut that rocker panel and only put one heavy-duty piece of bracing in there. Super happy with that. So I didn't have to get carried side to side, up to down. Now, when I started sawing out that front part of the rocker panel and the rust popped loose, my gap opened up about 1/4 inch between the floor pan brace and the rocker panel. That's pretty simple fix. Ratchet strap, pull it back together, and make sure things staying parallel and level. So that my technique is minimal bracing, but loads and loads of measurements, and comparing it side to side, left to right. Is my elevation the same? Is my gap the same? And that's how I can get away without using a lot of bracing. Again, whatever you feel works for you, please use that technique. If you like tying the car all together, go for it. I've tried it both ways, and I find that this seems to work a lot better for me. Minimal or no bracing, but just a lot of continuous measurements and tweaking. And then I'm sure we'll get to one of these panels somewhere that doesn't go smoothly, and I'll show you how to get it back into shape. We got ratchet straps. They're going to be your friends, so remember that. So nonetheless, cutting that rocker panel was an epic fail. The car didn't break, so if you guys betted that it was going to fall apart, well, we didn't. We did pretty good. Not to mention, this thing is a rusted out heap in that front corner. So, yeah, I'm liking how the progress is going here. So I've rambled on enough. I've got a bunch of parts put back in the garage for my boy gets here with my grandson. We're going to hang out this afternoon, I think, while the ladies go shopping. But can't play cars. He's just a little too young yet, but don't you worry. I'll keep plugging away here. Lots of videos to come. I will have Matthias out here playing cars with Grandpa. Gramps, Papaw. I'm not sure we're going to go by yet, but I'm digging the idea of being a grandpa. And of course, some of you guys may already be too. So this is actually a new experience for me. And this actually feels really great. So nonetheless, I got to shut up. Got to clean up my mess. I will get the camera out here. Keep plugging away on Project Mockingbird. And I hope to see you guys then.